audiences, that would be amazing.
Yeah, of course. So I'm Sarah. I'm a therapist and a psychological coach, and I specialize in teaching professionals to train their minds so they can feel confident, feel calm, feel empowered, and basically just move forward in their lives. And I do that through a mixture of things. So, kind of being dual trained, I use psychology and strategy and a bit of spirituality. And I love it, makes me so happy when I see my clients grow and change. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's a bit about me.
I've been watching your reels actually this morning. I was like, oh, that's so nice. It's so
Oh, thank you.
nice. And yeah, I can already see your energy as well. It's so calming. So I'm sure that all the
Oh,
clients that are working with you will literally feel the benefit just by talking to you. So
thank you. That is so lovely to hear. Thank you, babe. That's really kind.
yeah. So
Thank you.
for those of you who don't know me, my name is
Yeah.
Katrina. I was a yoga teacher. That was my full-time job, and I'm now pivoting into coaching. And I especially
Mm,
specialize in mindset work and confidence, just because for me that was the most transformational in my journey, and I want to basically share that journey with others.
yes.
That's why I am here. And we're basically
Amazing.
talking about confidence,
Yes.
which is such a broad term.
Mm,
Um, I don't know how you want to start this chat, but for me, I always thought that confidence looked exactly the same for every single one.
yeah.
And I think that's why I shied away from it. I
Mm,
knew, even though when I was a kid, I was always quiet and I always wanted to be this like, oh, I want to be more social, I want to socialize, I want to talk more, I want to do this. And I thought
mm,
that's what confidence was.
yes.
Um, and I told everyone that I used to be a dancer as well. And for the
Mm,
longest time, I loved dancing. But the teachers would always tell me, but I need more from you. I need you to be more expressive. I need you to be this. So I always felt like there was something lacking, because what I thought was,
yeah.
I'm giving you everything that I can. I'm
Mm,
literally giving you all of me. It's
yes.
still not enough. So I think that's where the frustration for me was with my relationship with confidence is, I thought that that was it. Like I was giving everything, but it
Yeah.
still wasn't enough. And their definition of confidence was different to my definition of confidence. And it was a
Yes.
long journey to get to where I
Mm,
am now, basically. But it's such an interesting journey, and
mm,
I just ran a
yeah.
masterclass last week about being calm and confidence, and I was actually telling everyone that confidence is literally as unique as you. You know,
Yes.
it's like a DNA, it's like your fingerprint, and that's what I want to spread anyway. That's the, yeah, dialogue that I want to communicate. But yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, thank you for kind of starting the conversation like this because I know you and I just wanted this to be loose and flowing and just see what comes up. But that was in my mind too, Kat, about redefining confidence. So when you asked me to come on and I was excited to do our live together, that is such a key thing for me too, redefining confidence or reframing confidence. And I loved what you said there, that it looks different for all of us. And what I think confidence is for me and the people I tend to work with is is letting go of this idea that confidence is something that's like brash and bold and live and I kind of want to do this,
Yeah.
chaotic. Whereas confidence for me is a stillness, a
Mm.
calmness, a groundedness, an inner knowing that you're enough, you're self-assured. It's kind of the opposite. It's that quietening down and reconnecting. And it sounds to me like we are matching on that. And when you were sharing a little bit then very courageously about your experience of when you were younger and you were dancing, oh, there was a part of me that was kind of so sad. I felt that sadness
Mm.
because you were being almost instructed. I was going to use the word invited, but you're being instructed to be like other people.
Mm.
Whereas confidence for me is just about being more ourselves. And I too think I can connect with you on being quieter when I was younger. I'm so blessed. I have a twin sister, so we grew up together.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, amazing. You know, born with kind of my very best friend. However, we were kind of always together, so perhaps that hindered me and my confidence in some ways because we were kind of like always together. So
Yeah.
I've had to learn and practice and grow.
Yeah.
So yeah, lots of similarities.
That's so interesting, isn't it? Because
Yeah,
when I was going back to the masterclass that I did last week,
yeah,
um, what you just said right there was this idea of calm and confident. Actually, for me, I was telling people last week that confidence is kind of the front layer of it, and the calm is actually, for me, being calm is actually confident, and that's what's in you. And like you said, literally what I said, calm is like the stillness, and
yes,
confidence is the movement. They kind of go hand in hand and they balance each other out. And for me, confidence protects your calmness, but you need both of them to keep that peace, I guess. And you know, it's like
yes,
that you need to be. The confidence for me now is not just about this being what we're saying, that all over the place,
yeah, that
right?
brash energy.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
about being confident enough to protect that calmness and to protect that peace. So that's how I
yeah.
see it at the moment, that there are layers of it. But yeah, if we really go down into it, it's just calm and confidence is the same thing. But you know, because it's just being you, isn't it? And like we said, it's so unique to every single person that I could use a different word and it could be that, you know.
Yeah, I loved what you said then about, I just scribbled it down because I'm always learning and connecting and growing. I loved what you said there about calmness is the stillness, and then confidence. I think you labeled that as the movement, but for me, that's what we see on the outside. But what's actually going on in the inside is that stillness, that inner connection to ourselves.
That's so beautiful.
So interesting, isn't it? And so true.
Yeah, I always like to think of stuff with not necessarily metaphors, but a different way of, like you said, we're trying to redefine what confidence is. So my mind is literally
Yes.
like going crazy right now. But I think I always like that balance
Yeah.
or that juxtaposition of stillness and movement. And I think because of that dance background, I always have this thing of some people find their focus or whatever it is, who they are. And in yoga, what we do is to find stillness eventually, right? And that meditative state. And it's different for other people. Like before, I thought that I found that with movement because I was just in a state of flow, and I could actually just ignore everyone. But
Wow.
now you understand that stillness, obviously stillness has that as well. So I always like this balance of some people need to keep going to be in that state of flow, and some people just need peace and quiet. And I think I have known ever since that that's what I needed. It's just that there's that expectation
Yeah.
that we need to keep going, we need to be always out there, you know, doing stuff. So it's actually all about unlearning what, you know, they put on us basically.
Yeah.
So that's very
Unlearning.
yeah. But I do
Yeah.
agree with what you said of confidence, kind of the external layer, calmness is inside, and I think that's beautiful.
Yeah. And as you were saying then, unlearning and letting go of those societal expectations that says we have to be a certain way or behave a certain way, or circling back to the topic that confidence is this only and looks like this only.
Yeah.
It's letting go of all of those pressures, expectations,
Yeah.
ideas. And
And
as you said
it's
there,
what works for you as well, isn't it? Because sorry, sometimes I need to say it before otherwise
Please,
I
yeah, you
forget.
do. You do.
I kind of went the opposite so quickly as well, because when I realized, okay, my confidence isn't this bold out there, like, okay, so what is confidence for me? And I thought, and I was still close-minded in my journey, that okay,
Yeah.
I want to be the most me, right? So I'm not going to be wearing makeup, I'm not going to be flashy, I'm not going to be bold, I'm not, that, because you just want to go the opposite. I'm like, okay, I'm happy being me. But then that's still the same, because I'm thinking that that's confidence, but like we said, it's actually individual. Like for
Yes.
other people it looks different. So it is that reminder of, like you said, it is different for every single person. It looks
Yes.
different, it feels different as well.
Yeah. And
So
I love that as well. I think
yeah,
if I can come in there, Kat, I think I always talk to my clients and I remind myself of this. We have different parts of us. So as you were saying then about being more me as kind of stripping back and not wearing makeup and being natural, also being you could be wearing makeup and expressing yourself through clothes, whatever that might be. I always think we have so many different parts of us that are still us.
yeah.
It's kind of getting away from that it has to be this or it has to be this. Being the multidimensional beings that we have different parts of us, right? And it's giving ourselves permission to explore them and share them, show up as them, knowing that we don't have to just be one thing. We can be many
Yeah,
parts of us. If that, yeah, connects.
exactly. I actually
Yeah,
read something recently about that, because
yeah,
for me, most of my work is really tuning into your purpose, right, and who you are. Because for me, I was just struggling with identity in general. And like you said, I think you will always struggle with your identity if you just choose that one thing. And it's only recently that I'm like, yeah, but part of me is this, part of me, why can't we be this, like I always say, like a rainbow of colors, like
love
every
that.
single thing is important and it's part of you. You can't, because my thing is empowering introverts, right? And it's not just about, okay, an introvert is this, so this is all you are, but it's not. You can have that gradient of personalities and what you like, what you don't
Yes,
like, your desires, how you come across. So it's
yeah,
not fitting into those boxes, basically.
yes.
So
Love
that's
that
very interesting
analogy.
that you said.
Yeah, we're matching up on this, aren't we? I love that analogy of the rainbow.
mm,
I love
because you
that.
can't compare, you need all of them to be the whole rainbow. And that's all I just
Yeah.
love
Yeah. To
thinking
be
of.
the whole us, to be the whole you, to be the whole me,
Mm,
to be the whole us. Yeah.
yeah. And
Love
looping
it,
back to
babe.
confidence, obviously, that it's the same. I was
Mm.
listening to one of Izzy's live from Flow as well, and she was saying,
Yeah.
I always go, how can I be better? How can I be the best version of myself? And for her, it was actually, how can you be more you and most you? And I
Mm.
think it's the same with confidence. It's not
Yeah.
that, okay, I wake up today and I feel like my confidence is 10%, so that means it's not good. It's not about that. It's how can you be still 100% in your 10%, right? And show up as
Mm.
that 10%, and that's okay. And
Yes.
it's
Love that.
just a reminder for everyone that it's not a flick of a switch, it's a practice. And sometimes you're 100% and sometimes you're 10%, but that is still showing up as authentically your confidence that day.
Yes. Yeah, being authentic to ourselves.
Mm.
And there was two things in that actually. Just scribbling it down. So I don't forget the second one because that's important. um, yeah, being authentic to ourselves. And I think there's something that's important for me about whatever it is we're doing, showing up as we would do that. So letting go of those ideas or pretending that I have to do something the way I've seen somebody else do that or the way somebody I know would do that, letting go of that pressure again and being authentic to me and thinking, you know, how can I be more Sarah in that? How can I be more me in that? Which feels so important. And the second idea that I wanted us to touch on, you mentioned it's not just this flick of a switch. So circling back, as you said, to the topic, which is confidence and it being a practice, we're not just born confident or not. You know, it's not something we like have or don't have. And it's not that flick of the switch, is it? It's that continuous, compassionate building and practicing and forming new belief systems, new habits, new ways of being that takes kind of continuous curiosity, continuous compassion, continuous building. And we can build on this practice of confidence, can't we? So yeah, I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, and what you just said, actually, with all this repetitive of continuous, that's what I realized as well. Confidence, it's a momentum, isn't it? It's, you start that practice, and as soon as you, I guess, become comfortable in that practice, it just builds momentum. And that's, I think that's the way that you can keep that, is you just keep going. And obviously there will be a trial and error, and you just, you know, cycle back. I'm just trying to read Jenna's comment here. How do you feel courage plays into confidence? Sometimes I can find that I can build the courage to do something, but I don't always feel confident. That's so interesting. I don't know if you want to answer that.
The thing that comes to my mind is, it makes me think of Brené Brown's work when she talks about courage, and the definition of that isn't, I might be misquoting completely, but it's making me think about, like, you know, vulnerability, risk, which will feel scary and will feel unsettling. We might feel a bit kind of anxious doing something. So I think that definitely links to confidence and courage. We don't always have to feel confident in doing something new for the first time and having the courage. We can, or I think we can still feel, or for me, unsettled and kind of uneasy, but know that, okay, I have to do this. So I can still get the courage to do it because it links into what's important for me, but I can still move through the uncomfortableness and the uncertainty and the risk and not feel too confident about that. But then, second thought I have in my head is that links to kind of these practices around our comfort zones, because the more we kind of push ourselves, or I like to say gently nurture ourselves out of our comfort zone, that comfort zone naturally grows, doesn't it? So when we start to expand and we start to do something differently, that takes a lot of courage. When we step out of that comfort zone, that can feel uncertain and a bit risky and a bit vulnerable, but we know that when we do those things, that comfort zone expands, and therefore our confidence expands, and what we believe we're capable of expands. Which I think is so important, to then acknowledge that we've done that and celebrate that we've done that, if we've been able to push ourselves to do something different. So those are my thoughts. I don't know where your thoughts go.
That's so interesting. In terms of, I'd never say, or probably on autopilot, I always go step outside of your comfort zone, but I actually don't like that. So I always go back to kind of the movement background again. I like stretching outside of your comfort zone. So it's not that you're jumping off or leaping off, it's just bit by bit you're stretching your comfort zone.
I always think, you go, Kat.
What you said about courage, I actually think that is so important, even though obviously as we expand our comfort zone, there are still bits that we would need our courage to, you know, do something outside again of that stretch zone. But I think it's so important because, like you said, that's when I feel like my biggest breakthroughs or like aha moments actually happen, is when you stretch outside of it and you realize, oh, I can actually do it. Like, why was this such a big deal? And sometimes it's a good reminder, even though you've been in this healing journey or whatever you call it for a long time, I think that it's so important to still go back to that stage of, okay, I need something, that I need the courage to do something, because it just grounds you again, I think. And again, it's that cycle. So Jen, I hope that answers your question. And I actually thought of something else as well, with the difference, or I don't know if it's the difference between courage and confidence. But I was there's this thought of mine recently regarding intention versus commitment, and I feel like it's kind of the same in terms of the courage is like your intention to do something. You may not like it, or you may not have the confidence to do it, but that it's still something that you're intending to do. And the confidence is kind of your commitment to that intention. That's how I think of it anyway, that if we separate it, it's always, if I manifest something and my intention is this today, the commitment is you're taking action. And I think by taking action, it solidifies your intention. And I think it's the same with courage and confidence in that kind of analogy.
Yeah, definitely. I love what you're saying there, and it all kind of links, doesn't it? All links. All links. And what I wanted to say before is that word stretch. So I always think it goes comfort zone, we stretch, and then into panic. So as you were saying before, it's not about, and the way I work with my clients is almost those 3 circles: what's in our comfort zone, what's in your stretch zone, what would be in panic. And we don't want to go to panic, but we want to go into a comfortable stretch.
And then both of those grow, I guess.
Yeah, and that would then grow. Yeah, so eventually, the more we kind of go into that comfortable stretch, the more that stretch zone would grow, the more our comfort zone would grow, the more kind of what would cause us panic would be kind of out there. And we can be intentional with those practices that help build that. Yeah. So just another synchronicity there with language and how we work.
And speaking of practices, do you have any kind of best tools or activities, exercises that you would recommend for anyone who do want to stretch their comfort zone and build confidence?
Yes, definitely. Well, for me, one of the biggest things was affirming that it's safe to use my voice. This has been like a big part of my journey and healing, and I think showing up and affirming that it's safe to use my voice. It's safe for me to speak, because a lot of, I guess, my journey, my story, and a lot of the clients that I work with can feel that panic in public speaking or meetings at work, professional people kind of feeling unsettled in their own voice and in their own body. So I think there's something around affirming that it's safe to use your voice. And I guess this is kind of like a spiritual way of thinking, but working on our throat chakras, however that looks. We don't have to do that in a spiritual way, but we can as well. But there's something around, working on our self-worth. And I love to use kind of mantras or affirmations. And if that feels a bit uncomfortable or strange, because it might be the first time we're using kind of affirmations or mantras, and if it's the first time we're using something, that's natural for it to feel a bit uncomfortable, isn't it? But going back to those kind of mantras around, I'm confident, I'm calm, I'm relaxed, I'm at ease, and just repeating those things to ourselves and working on that self-talk, because then what we're doing is rewiring those pathways in our brain. So I love those tools. I think they're really simple. So I guess I'm inviting 2 into our conversation, like a practical tool of affirmations or mantras, but there's something about affirming that it's safe to use your voice and it's okay to do that. And giving yourself permission to do that. I don't know what your thoughts are on those
Definitely.
things.
I was actually thinking about this before we hopped on, and affirmation is one of the kind of the quick one that just came to me. And like you said, it's the positive self-talk and the trust and the acceptance. We go back to that, right? The acceptance that who you are and how confidence show up within yourself is enough, and you accept that. For
I am
me,
enough.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And for me, because I'm so bad with public speaking as well. Like, I would do it because obviously I need to do it, and like showing up here on Instagram as business owners now, I'm like, okay, this is something that I need to just do.
Yeah.
But for me, I know for some people it's about hyping themselves up to show up, however that is with speaking or being on camera. But for me, I actually need to just calm
Calm
myself
down.
down, like ground myself.
Yeah.
So I always go back to my breath. So apart
Yes.
from affirmations, and sometimes I would literally look at myself in the mirror like, you've got this. But most of the time it's, okay, let's just chill out, breathe, because when you're connected to your breath, you relax everything, right? And it shows up with your voice, like you said, with chakra. If you are interested in chakras and that kind of stuff, it shows up, like those vibrations show up when you're not settled and when you're not grounded. And I can definitely tell, like if I look back at my other videos, I'm like, okay, I was nervous then because I wasn't connected, I wasn't rooted down before I actually spoke. So
Yes.
it's, for me, it's almost doing what I think in my head is the opposite of what I need to do. That I need to do.
Yeah, totally. That's another tool that I wrote down, breathing and grounding. And again, what I'm hearing there is letting go of those, what we think we should do. So hyping ourselves or whatever letting go of that. And reconnecting and coming back to your calm and breath. And as you were saying then, when we're kind of stressed and anxious, everything speeds up. It's like our mind's racing, our body's actually racing because our heart rate's increasing. There's all that adrenaline and cortisol. So breathing and grounding ourselves and coming back to our bodies and reconnecting definitely helps put us in that state of kind of rest and digest and that calm. And that calm is that foundation to being more you, more me, more us. It's kind of putting ourselves in that like grounded state. And again, I think building a sense of calm, or I call it cultivating moments of calm, that's a practice. We can work on that too by being intentional.
Yeah, and I think looping back to at the beginning that we kind of both agreed on, that calm is more internal. And like with confidence, it needs to come from within. Like no matter what we say right now and tell people these are the best tools, whatever can help you, it all comes from within you. Like if you're ready to do those practices in the first place, and if you are ready to step into that confidence, that calmness that deep down you can do, and you are, because when you do need to show up and do all of these public speaking, it comes from within you. No matter what other people are telling you to do, you're not going to believe it if you don't believe it yourself. So just a reminder there as well that it's from you. It's from inside of you.
Definitely. And I guess what I'm hearing there is working on our self-worth. That's a huge piece in this. And then also that tool of breath work and grounding. Yeah. And there's something else for me that I wanted to introduce in kind of like a tool, because I know that's what we're thinking about now, tools for confidence or tools for calm really, is working on challenging unhelpful thoughts, or working on, I think, training our mind or creating a calmer mind. So really working on those thoughts, because thoughts can trip us off. All those thoughts about, what will people think of me? X, Y, and Z. We always assume the worst thing, don't we? So I think there's something about when we train our minds and work on our mindset and work on challenging unhelpful thoughts and becoming the watcher of our thoughts, that then helps us feel calmer, which then links to confidence, right?
Yeah. And something about being the watcher and the observer of your thoughts as well, just it's another kind of, I always say when you're at the beginning of your journey is to eliminate temptations. And I feel like when you do take that back seat of being an observer and a watcher, all of a sudden your thoughts, it doesn't feel like it's really rooted in you. You know, it feels like you can actually separate them from you, and it starts the process of, like you said, you're knowing that you've got your self-worth, self-belief, and self-love towards yourself. So I definitely agree with that. With your thoughts, you shouldn't let your thoughts determine what you can do, really, what you can do.
Yeah. Examine them.
What was it? Something about. No, carry on.
Oh, that's okay. I always think if it's important, it will come back.
Yeah.
It will come back, right? But yeah, what was running through my mind then, Kat, when you were speaking is creating that distance between ourselves and the thoughts, ourselves and that constant treadmill of thoughts. And I wanted to use the word there, examining them. Thinking, is this true? Is this a fact? Or is this not? Is this some opinion, some belief that belongs to somebody else, or something that I've inherited along the way? And creating that distance so we don't feel swamped. We can create that sense of calm and feel grounded.
Just remembered.
Has it come back?
Yeah, it's come back.
Yeah, what was it?
And about what you were saying about just minding yourself talk, basically. And I love this thing of rewiring your mindset, because it's so, I don't know why it's so easy to put ourselves down and to talk to ourselves negatively. And I think that's one of the best practices, actually, is listing, your limiting beliefs, what's stopping you from doing something, and swapping them to empowering beliefs. For me, that's so important. And that was one of the most transformational practices that I did, tools that I did, is how can you talk to yourself kinder, and I've just had enough. You just reach to that point that you'll have enough, and people, it's just easier to talk down to ourselves and to bring us into that negative hole, really.
Yeah.
I understand if someone else feels like it's difficult to talk to yourself kindly. And I remember before, even just saying the word self-love and giving yourself compassion, it was a challenge because we never do that. So like I said, it's a process, it's a practice, and it will probably feel a bit uncomfortable at the beginning because we've never done it.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because those things are learned when we're growing up. By the age of 7, by the age of when we're 7, we've learned how to be in the world. We've learned who we are. We've learned how to meet needs. We've learned, language. We've learned how we talk to ourselves. Those things are role modeled to us by our caregivers. So our internal self-talk is taken from those people around us when we were younger. So that means it's been learned somewhere along the way. So if it's been learned, we can use the logic, I like to think, that we can unlearn that when we bring awareness to our self-talk, and we can relearn kinder ways of being, kinder ways of talking to ourselves, catching, I think, that self-doubt language, letting that go with compassion, and talking to ourselves in a kinder way. Again, that's such a practice.
It is a practice. And what you just said there is so related to everything else.
Yeah.
For some people, I know that it's hard to let go of stuff. And I say this as well, which is similar to what you said. Think of it as, if you find it hard to let go, think of it as you're creating space for new stuff, or new, like you said, learnings, new ways of thinking, those positive tools that you want to do, because we can't hold on to everything. So if you find it hard to let go of something, that's what I think of. Create space for healthier habits, healthier thoughts to move forward, really.
Yeah. And I think just on, I know we said this would be a short live, so I'm mindful of time too. But just on that topic, Kat, oh, it's gone. It was in my mind and now it's gone.
It's about taking space. You said that you can unlearn something and relearn.
Oh yeah, and I think what I heard you say, thank you for the prompt. I think what I heard you say there is the uncomfortable bit, that it might feel uncomfortable to do. But I think again, it's naturalizing that. This is what I like to do with my clients, which is to naturalize that it might feel uncomfortable and it might be challenging, and we might not always catch that language, because, you know, if we're in our 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, we've kind of had like 40, 30, 20 years of thinking this way, believing these things, behaving this way. You know, that's kind of been ingrained into us. But at the same time, what I want people to know, and you to know if you're listening, is that it is possible to do that with practice and intention and the right tools and space, really. We can change these things. You can change the language that you're using, change those beliefs, increase self-worth, increase calm, increase confidence, connecting back to the topic. So yeah, that felt really important.
Yeah, and that's, for me, that's so powerful.
Yeah.
And for those listening as well, that's all you can ask, really, right? It's that light at the end of the tunnel, that okay, you're used to this type of practice or the way you talk to yourself, but it is possible to relearn and, you know, unlearn then relearn.
Definitely. And it's a constant. I think the other thing I want to naturalize is it's a constant unlearning and relearning and re-reminding. So these are like continuous practices that I have to do still. You know, even though I teach this to my clients and in workshops and things, it's a constant reminder. It's a constant gentle nudge, a compassionate reminder. So not being critical.
I still have affirmation post-it notes around, you know, when I'm not having my 100% day. I still look at those notes, and I still look at my mission statement. I still look at my vision, my purpose, and just remind myself, why did I get up this morning? You know, what is my purpose to me? Because it's a gift, you know. This present moment is a gift, and I think it's that constant reminder that you said. It's what grounds us, and it's the thing that gives us the ability to shift our awareness again and understand what is our intention and why we do what we do, basically. So yeah, I still do it on a daily basis.
Me too.
Otherwise, I'm just gonna walk on a different path, and you know.
Well, me too. Yeah, we need, what I took from that is we need reminders. So like my whole wall here, this side is filled with, you know, affirmation cards, reminders, because I think we live such busy lives. Lots of things are fighting for our attention and need our attention. There's lots of stressors. We can easily kind of, I think, forget these things. So having reminders is actually a really positive thing to do. It can kind of like ground us back in and remind us to even just repeat those affirmations, which will be having an impact. It might not feel like they are, but the more we practice, the more that will become the default.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
important.
It's not about, you know, being perfect at this practice as well.
No.
What I like is to give people all these different tools that they can test out and see what works for them at this point, at this emotion, where they are at the moment. And it's not that they need to use that, it's just that when you do have those days that you do need reminding, you've got like a resource. Where do you want to go to? What do you need to continue moving forwards, really?
Yes. Tools and
that's
strategies.
The importance of having all these tools and practices, in your side pocket.
Definitely. I think that's huge. I always think there's two things, there's building awareness and understanding and connection and making sense of where these things come from, because that helps us, build that self-awareness and understanding and connect the dots. And then the other part of the work that I do is identifying those tools and strategies, techniques that we can put into place to help create the change and the shifts, really. So yeah, I totally agree with you on that.
Oh, this is so nice.
Yeah.
It's been so lovely.
It has, babe.
I know we said 20 to 30 minutes.
I know, I need to
always
finish
go
soon.
over with these things anyway. But any kind of, how do we end this? A summary or kind of tips moving forward? Or actually, before we go into that, maybe tell everyone how they can contact you if they want to work with you and all that jazz.
Oh, amazing. Yes. Well, I'm sure that will say that I'm tagged in this video. So my Instagram, you can connect with me there. Sarah_Tombs, which is TOMBS, or my website, which is sarahetoombs.com. I'd love to connect with you, say hi to me, and love to kind of hear if any of this stuff connects and resonates. And then I was thinking, my mind was going to kind of summary or how to end the live. I think for me, the themes that we've picked up on are that it's confidence is a practice. It looks different for everybody. So that lovely reframe that we agreed on, reframing it reframing it first of all to kind of being something that's gentle and still and grounding and becoming more you. And then also, I think a third thing about redefining and thinking, what does confidence mean for you? Because it's okay that confidence means something different for everybody. And then taking the tools, any of the tools that we've shared that feels good. I always think, take what you want and leave what you don't. Take what connects and leave what doesn't.
And also that last bit of thing that we agreed on as well, that confidence, like you said, is different for everyone, but also that it can show up differently every day, and the range of it is, as it's not something that you can measure, basically.
And last thing, before we finish, just a reminder that we can learn new things. We're capable of doing that. We can learn, unlearn, relearn, and it's just building skills and habits. So thank you.
And exactly, and I love learning. I love that. I'm always like, what's the next thing that I can learn? If someone is kind of into